As Nelda likes to say, sometimes all it takes is a spark.
Joseph Campbell talked about the thou shalt. I'd like to kind of let our viewers know a little bit about that. I think that's a really interesting thing, especially as as you're teaching others too, but also in our own lives.
Well, where that comes from is in his explication of the hero's journey. So when the hero leaves the village and goes into this world of the unexpected, the hero's journey, for those in its raw, is separation, initiation, and return. So the separation from your quotidian day-to-day life, and then into a magical world where you meet helpers and all these other things. But ultimately, metaphorically, in that world, you have to slay the dragon, because the dragon has the pearl. The dragon has the thing you want to take back. And mind you, we're talking metaphor now. But the pearl is the boon you bring back, you return to your village with. So Joe says you have to slay, you try to slay the dragon. Now, and the dragon is covered with scales, and the scales say thou shalt or thou shalt not. Meaning you have to slay all those expectations that you've put on yourself and that society's put on you. Those are the myths, okay? To some extent, you have to demythologize. You have to let go of all of that, and you fight it. When we're growing up, you fight the traditions, you fight the laws, you fight the things there. This is part of being an adolescent, right? But ultimately, the hero fights and fights and fights against thou shalt and thou shall not, until the hero lays down his sword and surrenders. Meaning, what we were just talking about, goes into themselves and stops measuring their own adventure against what's out there on the scales of the dragon. And then turns out you don't ultimately you don't slay the dragon. The dragon goes, oh, okay, I got it, and gives you the pearl. Because you're only fighting yourself in that battle. You're fighting remember the second womb? You're fighting all of the things that you learned in that second womb and that you lived into as a member of a given culture or society. You can try to suppress them. You can try to rail against them, but ultimately you have to say, okay, this is what it was, and you can't get rid of them. There was a book in the 60s called Programming and Metaprogramming in the Human Biocomputer. And the takeaway from it was, this is a book by John Lilly. He said you can't, just like you can't get rid of these programs that are in you, but you have to metaprogram them. So you have to come up with a story of your own that acknowledges these, honors these, and goes beyond them. So you don't just throw it all out. You can't. Joe says if you try to throw it all out, you are throwing out the dictionary to the language of the soul, which I think is a great way to think about it. These are all
Absolutely.
the ways. This is the language of the soul, and you can't get rid of it, but you can take it to another level and a different place, and that's slaying the dragon. And the dragon is the one with the scales that say thou shalt and thou shalt not.